You've been watching her stories light up your phone again, haven't you? That little notification pops up at 11:47 p.m. And even though you swore you'd stop replying first, your thumbs are already moving. You're the one who always reaches out first. You're the one who rearranges your entire schedule when she texts, "I had a rough day." You're the one who bites your tongue when her mood swings like a pendulum, because that's what a good man does, right? You keep the vibe smooth. You manage the emotions. You show up even when she doesn't. But deep down, something feels off. Something heavy sits in your chest every single time you put the phone down. Have you ever felt like you're pouring everything you have into this connection, yet somehow you're becoming less and less valuable in her eyes? Like the more you give, the quieter her respect becomes. If that hit you in the gut, you're not alone, brother. And if you're watching this right now, I need you to do one thing before we go any deeper. Smash that like button. It takes 2 seconds, and it tells the algorithm that real talk like this actually matters. And if you're tired of the same recycled advice that never changes anything, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Because what I'm about to break down in the next 20 minutes is going to shift how you see every relationship you've ever been in. Here's the part most men completely miss. She's not treating you badly enough for you to walk away. She's not screaming. She's not cheating. She's not throwing plates. No, it's way more subtle than that. She's just draining you quietly, consistently, day after day, until one morning you wake up and realize you don't even recognize your own standards anymore. It's not obvious toxicity. It's slow, elegant conditioning. She's training you to accept less and less without you ever noticing the shift. And the scariest part, you're not losing the relationship. You're losing yourself inside it. In this full-length deep dive, I'm going to lay out the 5 subtle signs that a woman is operating from a place of selfishness. These aren't the loud red flags everyone talks about. These are the quiet psychological patterns most men overlook until the damage is already done. No cliches, no generic "she's not texting back" nonsense. Just raw, unfiltered truth about the emotional dynamics that are quietly rewriting your identity. If you're the kind of man who values clarity over comfort, stick with me until the end. Because what you're about to hear might hurt, but it will also set you free. Let me reset the entire frame for you right now. This video isn't really about her. It's about what you've been tolerating. Most men walk into relationships believing that strong attraction equals a healthy dynamic. If she's beautiful, if the chemistry is electric, if she makes your heart race every time she smiles at you, then it must be right. Wrong. Attraction is just emotional engagement. It's not a green light that. The foundation is solid. Emotional attachment doesn't always come from steady, consistent love. In fact, it often comes from the exact opposite: inconsistency. There's a concept in behavioral psychology called intermittent reinforcement. It was studied for decades by B.F. Skinner, and the results were crystal clear. When rewards come unpredictably, the attachment doesn't weaken. It becomes stronger. Think about that for a second. When she's warm, fully present, laughing at your jokes, texting you good morning with hearts, you feel chosen. You feel like everything is finally clicking. In those moments, your brain lights up and tells you this is it. But then she pulls back. She gets distant. Replies, "Slow down." She's suddenly busy. And what do? You don't pull away. You lean in harder. You start replaying every conversation in your head at 2 a.m. You become more attentive, more careful, more desperate to get back to that warm version of her. You're not building a real connection. You're responding to a reward pattern. Just enough sweetness to keep you hooked. Never enough consistency to make you feel safe. So, let me say this as plainly as I possibly can. You don't actually miss her. You miss how she made you feel when she decided to show up. And if you don't learn to separate those two things, you'll keep choosing the same exact dynamic, just wrapped in a different face and a different name. Because the problem was never her behavior alone. The problem was the standard you quietly lowered in exchange for that feeling. Now, let's get into the 5 subtle signs that she's operating from a selfish place. And I'm going to go deep on each one layer by layer so you can see exactly how it plays out in real life. Number 1. She conditions you to prioritize her needs over yours without ever saying it out loud. She doesn't demand it. She doesn't throw tantrums. She simply creates an environment where everything flows smoother when you bend. When she wants to talk at midnight, you're expected to pick up. When she needs reassurance after a fight with her friends, you drop everything and deliver it instantly. When she wants space to figure herself out, you give it with zero questions. But the moment you need clarity, the moment you need emotional support, the energy shifts, replies get delayed. Attention becomes fragmented. Suddenly, she's not in the right headspace. Or this feels heavy. And slowly, without you even realizing it, you stop bringing your own needs to the table. You tell yourself it's not a big deal. You convince yourself you're just being the bigger person. But you're not being understanding. You're being conditioned. Every single time you swallow your own needs to keep the peace, you reinforce one invisible rule. Her needs are urgent. Yours are optional. That's how emotional asymmetry is built. Not with chains, but with compliance. And here's where it gets dangerous. You don't just change your schedule. You change your standards. You stop expecting real effort. You stop asking for reciprocity. You start accepting crumbs that you would have never tolerated 6 months ago. All because you think keeping the peace is love. But peace at the cost of your self-respect isn't peace. It's surrender. In a healthy dynamic, both people get inconvenienced sometimes. Both people adjust. Both people invest. There's friction. There's compromise. There's balance. When one person is always bending, and the other is always being accommodated, that's not harmony. That's quiet control. So, here's the question I want you to sit with for the rest of this video. If you stopped adjusting your entire life to fit hers, what would actually happen? Would she meet you halfway? Would she lean in, invest more, adapt? Or would the whole thing start crumbling because the only thing holding it together was your constant bending? A woman who truly values you doesn't need you to shrink your world to fit hers. She naturally creates space for you and hers. And if that space doesn't exist, it's not because she can't make it. It's because she simply doesn't have to. Number 2, she only shows up when it benefits her emotionally or practically. At first, it feels amazing. She calls when she misses you. She reaches out when she's stressed. She leans on you when her life feels chaotic. And in those moments, you feel important. You feel chosen. You feel like you matter. But if you zoom out and look at the pattern over weeks and months, something uncomfortable becomes obvious. She appears when she's bored, when she's anxious, when she needs validation or distraction. But when her life is full, when she's entertained, when she's getting attention somewhere else, you become background noise. You go from daily priority to seen 2 days ago status in the blink of an eye. And she never has to say it. Her availability says everything. Most men get trapped here because those high moments feel so real. The laughter, the deep conversations, the way she looks at you when she's fully present. You hold on to those peaks and use them to justify the valleys. You tell yourself, when she's with me, it's incredible. But that's exactly how the psychological loop works. In behavioral neuroscience, this is called a variable reward schedule. Your brain releases more dopamine, chasing the unpredictable reward than it does when the reward is steady. So you start analyzing what you did differently the last time she was engaged. You tweak your behavior, your words, your availability, hoping to trigger that version of her again. But the truth is brutal. That version isn't something you earned through consistent value. It's something she gives only when it serves her emotional state in that moment. If her investment only appears when it's convenient for her, that's not connection. That's access. You're not her choice. You're her option. And every single time you drop everything the second she decides to show up, you reinforce exactly that position. Number 3, she avoids accountability and masterfully reverses blame. It usually starts small. You bring up a concern calmly. No yelling, no drama, just, hey, that didn't sit right with me. Watch what happens next. The conversation doesn't stay on her action. It instantly flips to your tone, your timing, your energy. Why are you making this a big deal? I feel like you're always finding something wrong. You're overthinking again. Suddenly you're the one explaining yourself, defending your intentions, trying to prove you're not crazy for having feelings. This is gaslighting at its most polished form. According to the American Psychological Association, gaslighting is when someone makes you question your own perception, memory, or sanity. It doesn't destroy you in one fight. It rewires you slowly. First, you push back. Second time, you explain yourself more carefully. Third time, you hesitate. Eventually, you stop bringing things up at all. You filter every thought before it leaves your mouth. You soften your words. You stay silent to avoid the emotional tax. And in that silence, you lose your voice. Once your voice is gone, your standards follow right behind it. Every issue starts feeling like a risk you don't want to take. A woman who respects you may not agree with everything, but she will at least acknowledge your feelings. She will take responsibility where it's due. Accountability isn't a threat in a healthy relationship. It's a correction. But when every problem somehow circles back to you being the problem, you're not being understood. You're being trained. Number 4, the more you give, the less she respects you. Everything society taught you says the opposite. Be more attentive. Be more available. Give more love. Show more effort. But in reality, that's exactly what's killing your position. Attraction and respect are not built on how much you give. They're built on how your value is perceived. When you're always there, no matter what, you remove uncertainty. She knows you're not going anywhere. She knows she doesn't have to earn your time or attention. And once that certainty is locked in, your presence stops feeling valuable because it's no longer at risk. Human nature doesn't reward what feels guaranteed. So when you notice the drop in effort and you double down instead of pulling back, you accelerate the exact problem you're trying to fix. You're communicating without words. I will keep investing no matter how little you give back. That's the fastest way to lose leverage. A woman who truly values you doesn't lose respect because you care. She gains respect because your care comes with boundaries and standards. You give, but never at the total expense of yourself. You invest, but only where energy is being matched. If she doesn't have to earn you, she will never value you. Number 5, she competes with your growth instead of celebrating it. At the start, she loves your ambition. She says. She admires your drive. But the moment your motivation turns into real discipline, the moment you start waking up at 5 a.m., saying no to distractions, building your future with focus, tension appears. You're always busy. You don't have time for me anymore. You've changed. On the surface, it sounds like she misses you. But deeper down, she's reacting to the fact that your growth is reducing her leverage. The more focused you become, the less reactive you are. The more disciplined you are, the less available you become for her emotional swings. A selfish woman doesn't want your growth. She wants your availability. She wants constant access to your time, energy, and attention without having to adapt to the man you're becoming. So, she creates quiet resistance, guilt trips, emotional pullbacks, subtle pressure. And most men choose her comfort over their own future. They delay goals, shrink their ambition, slow down their momentum, just to keep the peace. Over time, that creates resentment, not just toward her, but toward the man in the mirror who knows he's no longer living at full capacity. A woman who truly values you sees your growth as something that benefits her, too. She aligns with it. She expands with it. The wrong woman slowly reduces your life until you don't even recognize who you could have been. Let's bring this all the way home. She didn't force this dynamic on you. You allowed it. One small tolerance at a time. But here's the empowering truth. If you trained her how to treat you, you can untrain it. Not by begging her to change, not by explaining yourself more, but by raising your standards so high that only the right woman can meet them. Standards are your filter. Boundaries are your protection. So ask yourself right now, which one of these 5 signs have you been quietly tolerating? Drop the number in the comments below. Be honest. And if you know a brother who's stuck in this exact cycle, send this video to him right now. Most men don't need more motivation. They need clarity. Like this. If this video woke something up in you, smash that like button hard. It helps more men see this message. Subscribe and turn on the bell because I'm dropping more unfiltered truth every single week. And remember, the right woman doesn't require you to become smaller to keep her. She meets you at the level you already stand. The moment you raise your standards, everything changes. Not just the women you attract, but the man you finally become. I'll see you in the next one. Stay strong.